What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for July 10th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast. Happy Hump Day. A couple quick announcements before we get into today's show. Spotify has a new feature, so if you're usually listening to it on Spotify, you know you can always vote in the polls and everything I post there, but there's always like a Q&A section. They've gotten rid of that, and now you can actually comment just like you would on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and any other places. So be sure to take advantage of that. The more interactions and things like that, the better off it is for the podcast and definitely helps us grow. And of course, today begins the second round of the Ultimate Philly Sports Nickname Tournament. Looking forward to that. We'll have more on that later in the show. But let's start off with the Phils, and Bryce and Kyle both return to the lineup, and it's amazing just what the presence of those two guys does for this lineup. Schwarber had a much better day than what Bryce did, went 1 for 4, hit 2 RBI. Bryce, though, definitely got tested early, was throwing his glove around, and it was much needed. I don't know if some of those hits would have been, if it was Bohm or Clemens at first, whether or not they would have caught them. So those two completely made a difference almost immediately in that lineup. 10-1, the Phillies hammer the Dodgers. It just was an overall good game, and it's a whole different vibe when those guys are in there. So it's good to see them back, even though Bryce didn't do much at the plate. That's okay, though. He'll definitely turn it on and come around. Wheeler was good for the most part, left the game in the fifth with back tightness, but nobody seems to be too concerned with it. He did have a longer than normal break when they had that big inning, so they're thinking that that's what did it. But the bullpen came through. Trey has continued to be hot, hit a grand slam. And Johan Rojas, I have to say, I mean, he left the game after he got hit in the hand. They didn't feel the need to take x-rays on it, so he should be okay. But he just has a different sort of, he's still not hitting great. But what he's been doing since he's been called back up is exactly what they need. The fact that he's beating out balls, he's hustling, he's putting the ball in play and allowing his speed to do things. And I mean, I keep going back to the Jason Kelce speech with him. He's a different man. So hopefully that will keep going. I know the reports out there are that they're not looking for a full-time outfielder. They're looking for role players and bullpen depth. Not sure how much I buy that. I think if they can get someone for the right price, they'll make that move. But good to see Johan doing what he's capable of doing and using his speed as a weapon. And then, of course, we had a Bryson Stott showing. A lot of people have been getting on him. He hasn't been doing much. I mean, he's outstanding in the field, so I don't think he's in any danger of being put down or anything like that. Well, not put down, sent down. Source. Poor choice of words. But he's good in the field, so I think that helps him. So if we can get some more consistent offense like I know he's capable of, that will go a long way. They're back at it again today. I believe it's Sanchez on the mound today for the Phils. Hopefully he's able to bounce back. And it did appear that JT was taking some BP, so he is right on track to come back after the All-Star break. But good game for the Phils. They're back at it today. Let's win it today and then hopefully go for the sweep tomorrow. But you got to love when Harper and Schwarber are back in the lineup, just what it does to the mindset and the mentality of the guys on the team. Philly Goat has a new shirt, and it is election season. So if you're like most people and feel that both candidates are way too old to be running for president, they got you covered. They have the anyone under 75, literally anyone shirt available on Philly Goat. Be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. But go to Philly Goat, get your election shirt. Also, while you're there, get the John Kruk Battle Brothers shirt. 10% of those sales benefit the John Kruk is my spirit animal shirt. The 10% of the proceeds benefits the Battle Brothers Foundations, an organization that does wonderful things for our vets. So go to Philly Goat, get some shoes. I'm wearing the Schmitties again right now. They're so comfortable. And it's like the more they get kind of contoured to my feet, the more comfortable they get. So go there, use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. You will not be disappointed. Personally, I don't know if you've seen it, and if you guys know anything about me, this is like I'm working on my wife to get this sign for the front yard. The whole Wu-Tang is presidents are temporary, Wu-Tang is forever political sign for my front yard. Working on it. I'm working on it. All right, some Sixers news, and the black jerseys don't appear to be coming back this year, but they are working on it possibly for the following season. So we're gonna have to kind of temper expectations on that. But I'm shocked at how divided people are on those jerseys. People either love them or hate them. There's definitely no in between there. But no black jerseys for this season, so we're just going to have to wait and maybe keep putting some pressure on the Sixers to bring them back at one point. Some of the new free agents were able to speak yesterday. I got some highlights of that. Kelly Oubre, and I love this. I absolutely love it. He had better offers from teams for more money, but he said he fell in love with basketball again while playing here, and he wants to be here long term, which is good. And I think that mindset is what you want for this team, and they haven't played together on the court yet, but all of these guys, it seems like they have some good vibes going. I know Kelly Oubre and Paul George have a history. Both of them had said, hey, it's just being competitive. You like that, and especially now that they're on the team together, they're big fans of that. And one quote that Kelly Oubre said that I think look for him to have a monster year. He says, we have a Big 12, Big 15. I don't like Big 3 because you exclude me, and I don't like that. So I think he's coming in with something to prove. He wants to get that long-term deal and be here for the long haul, and I respect that. That's the thing. Like, you want guys that want to be here. Caleb Martin had similar things to say. He's excited to be here. He even went as far as saying it's a winning culture, and you can just see it. And I think maybe the culture is starting to change. Maybe, just maybe, it was not the culture, Doc. Maybe it was you. If you remember, Doc said there's just a losing stench in the building. But if you think about it, since Daryl Morey has come in, he's starting to clean house a little bit, and the culture certainly is changing. So I don't know, Doc. Maybe that was you with the stank on you. Just look what you did to the Bucks this year. But Caleb Martin said was asked why here, and he was like, why not? I don't know. He mentioned Kyle Lowry also in his interview, saying that he's like a big brother to him, and if Kyle Lowry likes playing there, I'm gonna like it too. Which leads me to believe that signing is coming soon. I did see one report, I don't know how credible the source was that it's like a foregone conclusion that Lowry will be back with the Sixers. But he was working out for the Suns. They're making a run for him. But if he's only going to get the minimum contract, I can't see him going to Phoenix over Philly, to be completely honest. So I'm thinking that there should be a move on that today. And I think that's the perfect pick and perfect fit for backup point guard. Still want to see a backup point guard. Maybe they can bring in Marcus Morris Jr. too, get the Philly connection there. Two vets on minimum contracts that certainly will bring an edge. And I think really both of those players fit a need that the Sixers have. So fingers crossed that those two will be back. It does seem, though, that the Lowry thing is and one way or the other, whether he's going to Phoenix or whether he's coming here, should be solved this week. Andre Drummond said it feels like home. Obviously, he never wanted to leave. We didn't want him to leave. He was asked if he watched the Knicks series and how the Sixers struggled rebounding, and he flat out said, that's why I'm here. So he is... I just like the guys they're bringing in. They fit pieces of what the Sixers need. And again, kudos to Daryl Morey. They were talking about this on the WIP afternoon show the other day, and I have to agree. Daryl Morey is really having a great offseason so far. But Andre Drummond said Joe called him almost immediately and started to recruit him. So I like that. I just like the pieces just seem to be fitting the way they should. I love it. Sixers lost in Summer League last night, but Adem Bono had 5 blocked shots. McCain had a tough shooting night, but both of those dudes were flying all over the court. I was able to catch some of it in between Phillies, watching the Phillies game. Justin Edwards from Kentucky had a solid night, local kid. So, again, it's Summer League, but this is where these guys are going to work on some things, and I like what I'm seeing so far. High energy, and that's the future. If you get some of those high energy guys in there to kind of play with the vets, we should be all right. And one last thing on Paul George. And he reiterated that he's not he's not coming in, and he's kind of relieved. He's not coming in expected to score 40, 50, 60 points a night. He's there to help space out the floor for Joe. And he was like, if I can give him some rest and keep him fresh, and the way the rotations and everything. So I couldn't be more bullish on the Sixers right now. And yes, I know it's July 10th. But I am pumped. Give me Kyle Lowry, give me Marcus Morris, and then let's start training camp. All right, today we are going to go back to 1911 in the Wayback Machine. And on this day in 1911, the Phillies beat the Cardinals 4-2. Grover Cleveland Alexander pitched a complete game for the win, had 9 strikeouts. It was his 17th win of the season in July. It was a different game back then. But the story was left fielder Sherry Magee was called out on strikes on his second at-bat on what he thought was a high pitch, threw his bat in disgust, got thrown out of the game by the umpire, went to argue with the umpire, didn't like it, punched him in the face, knocked him out with one punch. Bill Finneran got knocked out with one punch by Sherry Magee. You heard that right. Phillies left fielder Sherry Magee knocked out the umpire because he called him out on strikes and then threw him out of the game for throwing his bat. For his effort, Magee was fined $200, which, again, this is 1911 money, and was suspended for the season. He appealed and was reinstated after 36 games. So imagine only getting suspended today, 36 games, for not only hitting an umpire, but knocking him out because he threw you out of the game. And we've seen some heated umpire arguments, but never to the point where a player literally knocks the umpire out. Magee played 11 years in Philly. He was a career, while in Philly, he was a career .299 hitter. He won the National League batting title in 1910, led the National League in RBIs 3 times while in Philly, and he is on the Phillies Wall of Fame. But perhaps one of his greatest accomplishments ever occurred on this day in 1911, when he knocked out the umpire when he threw him out of the game for tossing his bat after he called him out on strikes on a bad call. And Sherry, you cannot do that. But he would go on to have a good career, be in the Phillies Wall of Fame, but probably, to me, will always be remembered as the guy who knocked the umpire out. All right, it's time for the Ultimate Philly Sports Nickname Tournament. And before we get into the second round, let's wrap up the first round. Our final matchups yesterday in the Schuylkill region. Chooch, the number 3 seed, won with 89% of the vote, knocking out the Crazy Eights line for the Flyers. And then over in the Balboa region, Gang Green knocked out Jelly Bean with 67% of the vote. So Gang Green and Chooch are both moving on to the second round, which kicks off today. And essentially, I figured out the way I'm going to do the schedule. I'm going to do one matchup from each region, or 2 matchups, but from 2 different regions each day. So today is going to be the Ben Franklin and the Cheesesteak. Tomorrow will be the Schuylkill and the Balboa, and then we'll just alternate until we get to the Sweet 16. So today we're going to do a Ben Franklin matchup and a Cheesesteak region matchup. Our matchups for the second round in the Ben Franklin region: the Broad Street Bullies are taking on Nails/Dude. The Bull is taking on World Be Free. The Big Piece is taking on Smokin' Joe. That's going to be a killer matchup there. And the Kangaroo Kid is taking on the Boston Strangler. But today's matchup out of the Ben Franklin region is the number 4 seed, World Be Free, is taking on the number 5 seed, the Bull. Lloyd Free versus Greg Luzinski. Let's start with World Be Free. As I mentioned, he was born Lloyd Free. Spent 4 years in Phillies for the Sixers, was a big part of that 76-77 Eastern Conference Championship team. The nickname stemmed from his Brooklyn high school days because he had a 44-inch vertical. He was doing 360s before anybody else was, and one of his teammates said, "You're not all county, you're not all state, you're all world," and it stuck. He was eventually, and I'm going to try to give some different facts that I didn't give during the first round, but World B. Free was eventually traded by the Sixers, and the pick that they got for him from, I believe they traded him to the Nets, ended up being the pick that they used to take Charles Barkley in 1984. World B. Free still works for the Sixers, and there's a lot of questions about him during the first round because he legally changed his name. But since this is a Philly sports-based tournament, while he was in Philly, his official name was still Lloyd, so that's why we're going with that. He is taking on the number 5 seed, the Bull. Greg Luzinski got the nickname because of his ridiculous strength. He was a 4-time All-Star, won the World Series in 1980. Probably you could ask him, and I've never heard an interview where he said this, but I would imagine that winning the Roberto Clemente Award in 1978 was probably one of the highlights of his career. That is the Sportsmanship and Community Involvement Awards, very similar to the Walter Payton Man of the Year in the NFL. The Bull led the NL in RBI in 1975. He is a Phillies Wall of Famer. He's in the National Polish American Sports Hall of Fame. He's in the Philadelphia Hall of Fame. He's number 7 on the Phillies all-time home run list. And just one of the most beloved. You can find him out in, I believe they moved it now to left field, Bulls Barbecue. So that is our second round matchup out of the Ben Franklin regions. Who do you got? The number 4 seed, World B. Free. The number 5 seed, the Bull. Get your votes in. 267-495-8531 will get you in. Get that and anything else Philly sports related off your chest. You can also hit me up on the social media, Twitter and TikTok. I'm at Jimbo_Mont. Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Facebook if you're friends with me. LinkedIn. If you want to connect on LinkedIn, that's fine too. You can now vote right there on your phone, tablet, whatever you're listening to, right there on the Spotify app as well. So get your vote in. But is it the number 4 seed, World B. Free, the number 5 seed, the Bull? Who do you got out of the Ben Franklin region? And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Tell your friends, tell anybody, family, spread the word. Let's get those subscriptions up. But now we move to the Cheesesteak region and our second round matchups for the Cheesesteak region. Chocolate Thunder is taking on Shady. The Secretary of Defense is taking on the Round Mound of Rebound. The Answer is taking on the Ultimate Weapon. And Hound Dog is taking on the Legion of Doom. So some very, very good matchups in that region as well. But today it is going to be our number 1 overall seed, Chocolate Thunder, taking on the number 9 seed, Shady. Let's start with Chocolate Thunder. Daryl Dawkins, as I mentioned, is our number 1 overall seed because it's such a great name. Fits for when his era, when he played in the 70s, that whole funk style. And spent 7 years in Philly, went to 3 NBA Finals. He started to become a starter in the 78-79 season. Unfortunately, it did not necessarily work out for a championship for Daryl Dawkins because he was traded due in part because he was one of the guys that they just could not stop Kareem when the Sixers got to the finals. But he's best known for shattering backboards and leading to the breakaway rims that the NBA uses today. If you remember, he got his nickname from Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder's handler would take him to the game and explain what's going on and always called him the big chocolate guy. But like I said, that whole 70s funk era, it just fits. And to his credit, Daryl Dawkins played into it, claimed to be from planet Lovetron. And he's Chocolate Thunder from planet Lovetron. And fun fact about Daryl Dawkins, he was the first, along with Bill Willoughby, who they were in the same draft class, to go right from high school to the NBA. Not the first player to play professionally, though. Moses Malone did it the year before, but he went to the ABA. So Moses Malone was the first, but Daryl Dawkins and Bill Willoughby were the first to go from high school straight to the NBA, which you can't do now due to the CBA and everything they have in place for there. He is taking on the number 9 seed, Shady LaShawn McCoy, who is the Eagles' all-time leading rusher. His best season occurred in 2013, which ironically is right before, I believe it was right before he got traded. He had 1,607 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, averaged over 100 yards a game, added 52 catches for 539 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the future seemed bright, but then Chip traded him for Kiko Alonso. Yeah, if you watched the podcast with him and Deshaun Jackson, they didn't understand it either. He had to look up to see who Kiko Alonso was. Shady is on the 2010 NFL All-Decade team, and the origin of his name is because his mom said he had massive mood swings, so she called him Shady, and it just stuck from there. He is a 2-time Super Bowl champion, unfortunately not with the Eagles. He won them both with the Chiefs. But Shady McCoy, an all-time Eagle, one of those guys I wish never would have left. Thanks a lot, Chip. Although Kiko Alonso became a key piece in the trade process to get Carson Wentz, which I still to this day, and that's a topic for a whole different time and show, but I still don't think they win the Super Bowl without Carson Wentz. So I would have rather had Shady, but here we are. But who do you got? It's your turn now. Is it the number 1 seed Chocolate Thunder, the number 9 seed Shady, and then in the Ben Franklin region, it's the number 4 seed World Be Free, taking on the number 5 seed The Bull. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get your vote in. Let me know who you got. Who has the better Philly sports nickname? World Be Free or The Bull? Chocolate Thunder or Shady? We are in the second round. The winner of this will move on to the Sweet 16, which will be likely starting near the end of next week. But be sure to get those votes in. Tell your friends, spread the word, and let's continue. We set records every day. Like each day, more and more people are voting, which I love. I'm starting to notice an uptick in listenership too, so continue to spread the word. Every little bit helps this podcast out. On this day in 1911, Sherry Magee got thrown out of a game and got pissed off, so he punched the umpire, suspended for the season, and fined $200. But after appeal, he was back after 36 games in a game that the Phillies did win, by the way. I am bullish on the Sixers. Let me know what you think, too. Am I over exaggerating what they're going to be? Am I getting sucked into the crazy ex-girlfriend again? Is she doing the same thing she's doing or always does to me? Or is this time going to be the time that's different? And I'm feeling sorry for myself just saying it that way because I don't see it. But I am pumped right now for the Sixers, but I know how it always ends, but this time is going to be different. I'm like Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football. This time I'm going to kick that ball through the uprights, and the Sixers are going to actually make it past the second round. Let's go. All right, Phil's Dodgers tonight. Phil's looking to get 2 in a row and actually win that series against them. Be sure to check out my boys over at Philly Goat. And I haven't talked about the Clashing Conferences podcast recently, but they are working through, and I think this week will be the debut of their Major League Baseball version of the podcast. So stay tuned for that. Go check them out anywhere you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. But it's all about the Phillies, Sixers Summer League, and the ultimate Philly sports nickname tournament. Get those votes in. Going to be one more hot and humid day, and I think the everything starts to break a little bit starting tomorrow. Thank God. Yesterday was brutal. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for July 10th, 2024. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Wednesday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.